Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shner Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, episode 27. This is for the 15th of Teves in a leap year. So, in today's topic, we're going to begin discussing the difference between the two different types of tzaddikim, righteous people. So if you remember earlier on in some of the earlier episodes, we discussed the idea that the Gemara lists 5 different types of people. 5 different types of Jews. There's the complete tzaddik, the incomplete tzaddik, the Benoni, the complete Rasha, and the incomplete Rasha. So today we're going to focus on those first 2 categories of the tzaddikim. And to start off, we need a little bit of a review of last time. So if you want to go back and listen to yesterday's episode, you're welcome to do that. But in yesterday's episode, we were talking about this war, and we talked about it a couple of episodes before as well, where there's a war going on internally inside of a Jew between their godly soul and between their animal soul. And we talked about what it would look like if the godly soul were to win and were to totally take over the body to such a point that it would go from the brain where it is housed, where it is its dwelling places, and seep through the body all the way down into the right ventricle of the heart and pour out from there and affect the left ventricle of the heart, so that the left ventricle of the heart, which is the seat of the animal soul, would get transformed as well, and all the pleasures that exist within there become godly pleasures as well. So now the Alter Rebbe brings up this idea of what happens if, let's say, a person has this war going on and the godly soul wins against the animal soul to the point that it's able to totally eliminate and totally push out the negativity that's in the left ventricle of the heart. And however, the negativity does not transform into good. So what happens in that case? So it's sort of like it is a complete dominion, kind of. It is a complete conquering in the sense that there is no negativity that has any hold over the person at all. However, he doesn't succeed in actually transforming the negativity into good. He just kind of like pushes it away. So this is what the Alter Rebbe calls a tzaddik she'eno gamur. This is a incomplete tzaddik, or otherwise known as a tzaddik veralo, a tzaddik who it is bad for him. Meaning to say that he still has this bad in his left ventricle. It's just that it's being subdued and nullified to the good. And so since it's so small there, it's as if it's not even there. So he's saying that even though this person, it looks as if they've totally conquered over the negative forces within them, it's not a complete conquering, because he says that if it were to be a complete conquering, and if it were to be such that he totally would eliminate the negativity within him, this negativity, the evil within the person would totally transform into good. And the fact that it didn't totally transform into good means that it's still there. It's just lying dormant, and it's subdued, and it's nullified to the good that's in there. And so he says to explain this, we're going to contrast this with the complete tzaddik. So what is a complete tzaddik? A complete tzaddik is where their evil, their negativity, is totally transformed into good. And this is why the complete tzaddik, another word for the complete tzaddik, is a tzaddik and it is good for him. Tzaddik v'tovlo. And then the Alter Rebbe goes on to describe this process, and he says that what is happening here in the case of a complete tzaddik is this is somebody who has, the way he describes it is it's somebody who has totally removed the evil from his filthy garments. And so what does this mean? So to try to understand it in more simple words, which are actually the Alter Rebbe's words too, is that it means that he totally despises all of the pleasures of this world, that involve gratifying his physical body alone and are not for the sake of serving God. Because they come, as we described before, from the klipa, the husks, and the sitra achra, the other side. And anything that comes from that other side, from the foreign forces, a total tzaddik, hates it completely. And why does he hate it so much? This is coming out of his great love for God and for his holiness, with such a great love of pleasures and devotion to God. And so the Alter Rebbe explains this, and he says that this is because love and hatred have a direct relationship with one another, meaning to say, the more a person loves something, the more they will hate whatever it is that opposes that thing. So if you think about this in, a really practical way, let's say if somebody really loves music, let's say they love really, really good music and really good quality music, and they're, really learned in music, and they've studied like Beethoven and Mozart, and, they know all the intricacies of music. This type of person, when they hear really bad music, they're going to have a face of disgust and they're going to be so much more affected by that bad music. They'll probably cover their ears and, really, really be really negatively affected by it, versus somebody who doesn't have such a great appreciation of music. Somebody who's just kind of like, yeah, I like music. I don't know, whatever. If they hear music, they don't hear music. If it's good, if it's not good, it's to them, it kind of all sounds the same, whether they're listening to Mozart or Britney Spears, So it's similar here with God, basically, is that the idea that the Alter Rebbe is bringing out is that somebody who's a complete tzaddik is somebody who has totally transformed themselves in a complete and utter way, that the negativity within them doesn't even exist anymore, and they are so connected to God, and they are so attached and have such a full and abundant love of God that they can't handle anything that's opposed to him. And what is it that's opposed to him? Anything that it comes from the sitra achra, from the other side, because the other side, the whole idea of the other side is that which opposes God, that which hides God. And so how does the other side manifest itself? It manifests itself in self-indulgence here in this world. So when people indulge in physicality without having an orientation towards serving God, this is a manifestation, and this is coming from the klipos and the sitra achra, from the other side. So this expresses itself in such a way that the complete tzaddik does not have this at all, because he recognizes this and he feels this in like the visceral, literally in his body, how these things are in stark opposition to everything which he loves and craves, which is God. So I hope that was clear. So just, a little recap, just to kind of put it all together. So we talked about the difference between an incomplete tzaddik and a complete tzaddik in the context of the godly soul winning in the war against the animal soul in a person's body. So when the godly soul conquers the animal soul in the body, and it seeps from the brain down into the blood and down through all the organs until it eventually reaches the heart. If it is able to subdue the left ventricle of the heart where the animal soul resides, this person takes on the definition of what we know of as a tzaddik. This is somebody who the evil within them is not manifest at all. It's just not coming up in any noticeable or tangible way. However, if this evil within them is just subdued, but it's not transformed, this is an incomplete tzaddik, which means that the negativity within them still exists. It's just subdued, and it could actually, and it hasn't been totally eliminated. Versus, this is in contrast to a complete tzaddik, who not only have they subdued this animal instinct within them and the negativity, but they've actually transformed it. And now they have this passion that the animal soul possesses, but they've actually channeled it now into God. And this channeling of God leads to such a state where they love God so much that they despise anything that's the opposite of him, which means that they despise anything having to do with this world in terms of self-indulgence, any of the pleasures of the world that are for the sake of pleasure itself. And this, we can think of this as a little bit of like a litmus test. Let's say if you wanted to see, is somebody a complete tzaddik or an incomplete tzaddik, then one way to test this would be to see if they enjoy physical indulgence or not. So an incomplete tzaddik would be somebody who does enjoy physical indulgence, but they've achieved such a level of self-control that they're so not, that part of them has no hold over them at all. Versus a complete tzaddik is not only somebody who is able to conquer, has attained the ability to conquer their impulses, but it's somebody who actually doesn't even have joy in these physical indulgences at all, because their entire pleasure and their entire joy is only about serving God. So that is it for today. And we will continue this chapter. This was chapter 10. We started chapter 10. I don't know if I mentioned that in the beginning. So we're going to continue this tomorrow. And I'll speak with you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.